What's up, y'all? This is TC. You hanging out at TC Lounge. I'm glad y'all come in. Before we even get started, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let everybody know we in the building. But I have to say, I'm honored to introduce this guy. Listen, this guy. Let me see if I did my research right. You can fact check me if you want to. Let's see. He is
Okay.
the co-founder and the co-owner of Trackstarz, right?
Yes. Yeah.
The multi-brand. They do
Mhm.
music, they do
Mhm.
TV, they do radio. Uh Man, did I catch it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. And also something I learned, which if he's okay with it, I also
Sure.
learned he has another channel called the Classic Car Tutor. Did I get it right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
know I can say this part. And I was looking at it, and if I get this correct, you say you dedicated, your dad because he was a drag racer, and
Yep.
you went back and you learned all the different stuff,
Yeah.
and you got all the old school, man.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
ladies and
That's
gentlemen,
exactly right. Yeah.
Mr. Ryan Righteous of Track
Went.
Stars.
Thank
There you
you.
go.
Thank you. Yeah. Went back and tried to learn. What I didn't learn while he was alive.
That's good, man.
Yeah. But thank you for
Listen,
having me. I appreciate it.
no problem, man. I was like, man, I know about Ryan. I've been watching, man. So let
Oh,
me just
thank
give you
you.
a backstory about how, because we talk, you know what I'm
Uh
saying.
huh.
So you already know, but I'm gonna let everybody else know. So we
Okay.
won't get too much into it, but I'll just say it how it initially started. So initially, I was just doing a search. At the time, I'll be
Okay.
honest, it was because D1, and y'all name popped up. It was connected to it. I'm like, okay, Track Stars. Who's? I'll be honest. I was like, Track Stars. This is a while back too, a year
Yeah.
back. So I got to listen to y'all, and I was like, okay, man. This is different. I mean, it's my kind of different good, but I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. And then of course, the algorithm catches it, and I started seeing more and more of y'all stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool, man. So that's how I initially started. I appreciate it because I be at work and I be listening to y'all, man.
Thank you. We
So
appreciate that.
that's how it started. So,
Yeah. Thank you, man. We
but
appreciate the support.
yeah, no problem. So I'm just gonna get into it. So the name, let me see. Let's start out with Ryan Righteous. How did you come up with that? Like, yeah.
I was actually being silly one day. I was so when we were doing Trackstar, so we've been doing Trackstars for 18 years now, and my business partner, my co-host, my co-founder with me is Shantana,
Mm-hmm.
and DJ Jeremiah came on to the scene maybe about a year later,
Mm-hmm.
and we were in Sean's dorm room when we came up with Trackstars, and I was just kind of messing around with him, and I was like, man, we could be um, Saint Sean and like Ryan Righteous. He was like,
Yeah.
no, no. He was like, you could be Ryan Righteous, but I'm not gonna be Saint Sean. So I was like, okay. So then he thought about it. He was like, he'll go with Shantana after Santana, you know,
Yeah. That's
the
right.
uh,
The rapper.
musician.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of how it stuck. And then Ryan Righteous kind of became, you know, easy to roll off the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
also realized too, in holding that name, I had to live up to the righteousness of the Lord, and that was something that I was like, oh yeah, that's what people are gonna know me as. So I had to make sure that I was committed to my walk when I took on that name, and luckily for me, I was.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah,
Wow. So, of course, there's power in words. So,
yeah.
when you took on the name, did
hmm
any challenges come with that? Like when you took it on, you was like, oh, okay, and all of a sudden you had to, it's like you was being tested. Oh, okay, let's see the
Not
righteous
not
part.
really, not really, because the Bible says that Abraham was attributed to righteousness because he knew God, because he
Mm-hmm.
believed in him. So because
Yeah.
I knew God and I believed in him, I felt like, oh yeah, okay, I can take on that mantle of righteousness, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
only time it bothers me is when I have road rage. And
Oh no.
I'm beeping the horn, and I'm like, yeah, this is probably not me. I probably wouldn't want anybody to know me as that. And it was funny because I was at my kid's school one day,
Uh-huh.
and so I was at my kid's school one day, and we were at an open house, like just
Mm-hmm.
walking around meeting the teachers. And a young lady walked up to me and she was just like, "Hey, Ryan Righteous." And I was like, "Hey." She said, "Hey, I recognize you from the show." She's like, "I just want to tell you I'm a big fan of Trackstarz. I listen all the time." And I was like, "Oh, wow, thank you." And then I
Mm.
was like, checkbox, like this is another place where I got to be on my P's and Q's. And the
Yeah,
only
yeah.
reason is because, um, road rage and that's probably the only thing that ever knocks me off kilter. Like
Mm-hmm.
frustration behind the wheel because it's kind of like internet bullying, right? Like you're
Yeah.
behind glass, so you can kind
Mm-hmm.
of just be like, "What are you doing? Get out of my way!" And then
Yeah.
yeah. But I have young kids, and they check
Mm-hmm.
me on it all the time. They say, "Daddy, why'd you beep the horn at that person? Do you know them?" And I'm like, oh, "Okay." So
Yeah.
they humble me very often. They bring me back to earth. So the name
Wow.
is actually very humbling, man. It'll make you think twice about your character and your actions. So I'm
Yeah.
glad I adopted that name.
That's cool, man. Yeah, that's cool because I'm like, I actually knew there was an artist by that name too. I don't know if you remember. It was a guy
Richie
named.
Righteous.
Yep. Yeah. So it's the first time. So I'm looking at it like, wow, that's cool, man. So
Yep,
respect it.
yep, yep,
Yeah. So
yep. There's
so you
another
ever?
Ryan Righteous. There's another
Yeah.
Ryan Righteous as well, and he's a producer for Lecrae.
Okay.
So
See, I didn't know that.
he came out after me, and
Mm-hmm.
he produced Sidelines on Church Close 3.
Okay. Yeah.
And I woke up the next morning and everybody was hitting me on social media like, "Man, good job on the album, good job on the pro." And I was
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, okay, what are y'all talking about?" Like I didn't know. So I just was like, "Good job on your track." And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Thanks." And I didn't know what they were meaning. Like I just was like,
Yeah.
so then when the track stars saw it, they called me up and they was like, "How you gonna take credit for somebody else's work?" And what was funny was by the time I woke up,
Mm-hmm.
Google had put that in as part of my bio.
Oh.
Google used to do these
Yeah.
reviews where they would just take
Mm-hmm.
all the information online and they
Yeah.
would put you into a category and give you attribution. So when I would Google myself, I would
Mm-hmm.
see Ryan Righteous and it would say Ryan Righteous is a 1/3 of the track stars, like whatever bio I wrote up and put
Mm-hmm.
online, that's
Yeah.
what it grabbed first. But then it started saying credits, Dove nominated, award-winning producer, producer for Lecrae and other
Mm-hmm.
Christian hip hop artists, and I was like, oh, I got to get that taken down. So
Yeah.
eventually,
Wow.
eventually, that Ryan Righteous no longer like he never produced, he never really updated his social media, and
Mm-hmm.
so it no longer was an issue. But I thought for a while I was like, oh, let me find this guy and let him know I'm not trying to take credit for his work.
Yeah. Wow. How long did it take for it to come down once for it to bounce back out?
I don't know. You know what? They don't do it like that anymore. If you Google
That's
yourself
true.
now, it just shows images and websites that contain
Mm-hmm.
your name. But I tell
Yeah.
you what, I went to Lecrae personally, and I was like, "Hey, bro, I just want to let you know, I'm not taking credit for the work that was done on sidelines." And he
Yeah.
just laughed it off because me and Lecrae had the same last name.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
Mm.
I always go up to him and make a joke about family or something like that. Yeah.
That's funny. You ever go to a family reunion or cookout or something?
Uh, so when I first met Lecrae, I was like, okay, so Lecrae Moore, and he was like, yeah, and I was like, what side of? I said, where are your people from? Because I always ask that question. And
Mm-hmm.
his folks, he didn't grow up knowing his dad like that. So
Mm.
that's what he first told me. He's like, well, I didn't really grow up with my dad like that. He's like, but his people are in up in the Midwest area, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew for sure that my people are down south.
Yeah.
My dad's side of the family, they're from South Carolina and Georgia, so I knew for
Mm.
sure that we weren't related in the same way.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, we might relate. I got family in South Carolina, man.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah,
in.
we might.
My family's in Winsboro.
Okay. I'm a little the way. I got family in Columbia, so
Oh, okay.
Columbia. Yeah, so that's cool. Let me see. So, we already talked about the name. Let me see.
Yeah.
Track stars. I think we went to how that was created. We talked about
Hmm.
that. No, did we talk about that? Yeah, I
Not
believe
really.
so.
I
Okay, yeah,
so
we talked about that.
I told you. I told you how the name came from that night we created Trackstarz.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
Trackstarz formed. So I used to work in secular radio. Me and
Okay.
Sean. We used to work at 107.9 in Atlanta for Radio One,
Yeah.
Urban One now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in sales and promotions, and he was in web graphic design.
Okay.
And we went to a concert one night. We went to uh, the Birthday Bash. It's the largest hip hop conference on our festival in the Southeast, and it occurs
Mm-hmm.
every June of the year. And so we were at Birthday Bash, and we saw that the music was just destroying a whole generation of people. Like we were like, okay, you know what? The music is toxic. Kids are
Mm-hmm.
listening to it. It's crazy that that we don't have an alternative for this.
Mm-hmm.
And my best friend, who's a pastor, I got in his car one day and he gave me a Lecrae CD. He was like, "Man, listen to this guy," and I was like, "All right." And I heard it and I was like, Is he a Christian?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, this is Christian. This is Christian rap." And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, wow." And so I remember having a conversation with Sean about it, like, "Yo, uh, this is crazy. Like, if there's more artists like him, this might
Mm-hmm.
be able to work. This might turn into something."
Yeah.
And so we started saying, you know what? Let's try to figure out if we can make God's music the mainstream and the mainstream the alternative. And that's what we
Mm-hmm.
set out to do. And so this was in 2006. Sean and I fasted for a week and we came together in his dorm room at Georgia Tech. And we came up with God gave us the whole vision of Trackstarz in that night. We came up with Trackstarz, the acronym. We came up with what we were going to do with it, the different branches that we wanted to have. We wanted to focus on radio, television, film. I was a radio, television, and film major. He was a mechanical engineer major. So it was just like, you know what, you got the software development side, and you got the web graphic design side, and you got the design, aspects, and I like the radio side of things. So let's bring it all together. And so we were just like, yeah, let's figure out how we're gonna start these different divisions. And then
Mm-hmm.
DJ Jeremiah came along, and he had a record label, so that created the music side. I was already tapped into the radio side, and Sean was in film, so we had all
Mm-hmm.
three elements at that time. And we were just like, okay, let's just see what we can do with this. And so we started off with Trackstarz being the radio show, Freedom Music Group being the label, and the radio stations were under my brand, which was called Strong Tower Radio Group.
Mm.
And then we noticed that in the design was under JDOT, which is the name of the parent company of Trackstarz.
Mm-hmm.
And we noticed that people were getting confused. And Trackstarz had the most traction. And so we were just like, let's just make everything Trackstarz. That makes it easier. So we came together, and in 2006, we put an air check together and we put it on MySpace. And we
Mm-hmm.
let that thing run for a year, teasing that a radio show was going to be coming. And we didn't know how a show was actually going to form. And so one day I was walking through Barnes and Noble, and I saw my old professor from college. And I said, "Man, I got this radio show idea." And he was like, "Oh man," he's like, have you brought it to market yet?" And I was like, "No, I don't have a place." He
Mm-hmm.
said, "Come on, man." He said, "You could hit me up a long time ago." He said, "I can bring you back to the school as a graduate advisor, and you can use the school's equipment to do your radio show." And so I was just like, "Oh man, what would be a great day? I would love to do that." He was like, "Man, students don't get up on Sunday. Just come in on Sunday." And we started doing Trackstarz every Sunday for about a year. And it wasn't long after that the school signal went down, and we
Mm-hmm.
transformed into AM radio.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's how we got our start. And we knew at that point nobody was really listening to us on AM radio.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weekend signal, and you turn down the signals because you want to turn down the wattage.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes from having a 20-mile radius in the middle of the week to like a 5-mile radius on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew the only person listening was my mom and his mom. And we were just like, all right, man, well, let's just keep doing this and be faithful, and maybe God will move on it. And I remember going to my pastor and I said, I got this radio show and I really want it to grow, and I don't know how God is going to move on it. And he said, listen, go home and do everything that I tell you to do for 30 days. He said, send an email to somebody once a day, print up some business cards. He said, and just talk about it. talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. He said, and watch God breathe on it. And within
Mm-hmm.
30 days, God breathed on it, and we went from 8 listeners overnight to 8,000 in a month.
Wow.
So what happened was we signed a deal with the South.com, which later turned into uh, Jam the Hype.
Okay.
And they picked up our popular segment, which was called Line for Line, and they put it on YouTube. They put it on their YouTube. We put it on YouTube, and they put it on their homepage. And all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden, everybody started tuning in to Line for Line, and that's what we got known by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting because I actually got to know y'all by the podcast. Then I heard about the line for line, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
so it was like the other way around for me. But man,
Well,
that's
Line
a
for Line
story.
is a segment on the podcast,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the Line for Line segment and the podcast have both been around for 18 years.
Okay, that's
Hmm.
cool. Because
So we
it's got
started
its
them in the
own.
same
Yeah.
year.
Okay,
Hmm.
that makes sense. Cause I think it has its own page and stuff. Like,
It has its own channel now. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
we started doing some. We started learning the algorithm of YouTube around
mm-hmm,
this time last year, and
mm-hmm,
we learned that YouTube is going to uh, try to figure out what kind of channel you are,
mm-hmm,
right? And so we knew at that moment that when they saw us as a reactions channel, which is what we're kind of now being featured as,
yeah,
that the music and all the other stuff was confusing to the audience. So we had
mm-hmm,
to start separate channels for everything. So we learned that YouTube is going to continue to look for consistency in your channel, and when it finds consistency in your channel, it's going to continue to promote your channel to other users.
mm-hmm.
And so that's how we were able to grow our YouTube channel.
Wow, man,
Yeah.
that's a story. Hey, I'm gonna
Yeah.
pull up a couple of comments. Look,
Sure.
your story, man. Look, shout out to the wife. She was supporting. Look, she came here and hooked. Now she dropping stuff. Look, she said,
Oh,
there you go.
fasting for the vision. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
We knew that if this was going to work, God needed to clear our hearts and our minds. And we needed
Mm-hmm.
to also determine whether or not we were going to be a good fit for working with each other,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's
Yeah.
just been like, and we've gelled so well. Sean is the godfather of my oldest child. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
godfather of his only child.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been a magical relationship. It turned from, partnership to friendship to brotherhood,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Wow.
Um, we kind of lost our dads around the same time. So when I needed someone to lean on and encourage me, he was there for me. When he needed someone to encourage him and lean on, I was there for him. Jeremiah lost his dad around the same time. So we have that connection of, um, talking about the legacy of our parents and our fathers and what they instilled in us. And that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much what the show is built from. My father was a assistant pastor when he passed away. Sean's
Mm-hmm.
father was an evangelist. So, we look at it like, okay, they had their ministries. Now we have ours. My
Yeah.
dad had his pulpit and now I have mine. It just
Nice.
happens to be behind a microphone.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Mhm.
that's interesting. Like I'm listening to the story, and it's like
Yeah.
now that I'm hearing the story, it I was already appreciating the show, but it's like now I'm looking at like, oh, now I can see. Look, because I can sense it, like the way y'all, way y'all be on the show and stuff. It
Yeah.
works out. So now I'm hearing you say that, and I'm just like, oh, look, now it's like a full circle.
Yeah.
So man, that is cool, man.
Yeah. And it really is a full circle. My best friend introduced me to Sean. Sean was doing spoken word, and so I
Mm-hmm.
went in to watch him do spoken word
Mm-hmm.
every Friday for once a month for about 5 months before I actually approached him
Mm-hmm.
and introduced myself to him. And I just introduced myself and said, "Man, I'm a fan of your work." I said, "Have you ever thought about doing radio?" And he was like, "Yeah, I love to do radio." And I said, "Well, I work at the radio station, but I can help you get an internship." And so I helped him get his internship. And that's how we got together to be in the same building. And then yeah, it was crazy. We were renting a studio in Marietta
Mm-hmm.
from Rich Productions. And then they had to close down for about 6 months for renovations. And we were like, oh man, maybe we should just try to find our own space. And
Mm-hmm.
so this picture that you see behind me, this is an actual photo of our studio
Yeah.
that we're in every Saturday. And it's
Mm-hmm.
inside a church that my best friend planted. That same best friend went to school with Sean, and he also took me to church to meet Sean. Took me to the church where I met Sean,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I was talking to him one day, I was just like, "Man, me and Sean are riding around looking for space." He's like, "Looking what kind of space?" And I said, "We're looking for studio space." And he said, "Hey, man," he was like, "Come see me." And I was like, "All right,
Mm.
cool." So I came to his church, and he walked me around, and he was like, "Man, I'll donate a wing of the building to Trackstarz." And so we're in this nice church in Atlanta. We've got
Mm-hmm.
this studio. We've got one behind us. Uh, we have another studio for our wives' podcast, which is called Becoming Eva.
Yeah.
My wife and Jeremiah's wife, they have a podcast. They're in their eighth season, going into their ninth, and it's been really exciting to have all this and all this space and opportunity. So we have a music studio behind us. We have another recording studio for the Becoming Evil podcast, which is decorated really nicely, and then we have an office.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
the church has really blessed us, and
Yeah.
it's been great. We've been here for 10 years now.
Man, look, listen.
Mhm.
I don't even know where to start with this. 'Cause it's like a blessing, man. It started out, look, y'all obedient and sacrifice
Mhm.
time. Y'all fast in the dorm, and years later, I mean, it was before this,
Yeah,
but y'all got all this. You got this room. Y'all got the church. Everybody's helping. Man,
yeah,
look, what I need to do. That's all I need to know. Yeah, listen, I need to take us. I want,
yeah.
man, I need to go fast. But no, seriously though,
Well,
that man, yeah.
you know what? The first thing I'll do is I'll tell you is that you need a team. We have
Mm-hmm.
about 20 people on our team.
Okay.
People don't notice that often, but we have about 15 people that do a conference call with us every Wednesday night to help us plan the show. We have somebody on the team that does social media, somebody that
Mm-hmm.
answers emails. We have more than one person on the team that does social media and answers emails, but we also have people on the team that make graphic design. We have people on the team that do posts for us. We have
Mm-hmm.
people on the team that write articles for the website. We have people on the team that do camera, they do production. So when you see the full production of Trackstarz, it has definitely come together by a full team of people who believe in the vision. And I'll tell you how we got our team. We did a
Mm-hmm.
focus group. We said, hey,
Okay.
we announced on the show, we were like, hey, we want a focus group of people to tell us what they think about our show.
Mm-hmm.
And we set up a Zoom call and we introduced ourselves and we let them introduce themselves. And over the years, we've had about this was about in our I know it was at least 10 years ago. I would say of those 10 that were on that focus group, 8
Mm-hmm.
of those people are still with us to this day. So for 10 years, we've had a strong team, but we've had people come and then they've started their own thing and then they've moved on to continue, to do their own thing. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
we're all about. We're all about come to us, tell us what your vision is and how can we help.
Yeah.
So that's how we formed our team. And man, I'd say over the years, we've had about 30 to 40 team members.
Wow.
Yeah, in different time spans, and they're all in different places. We've had people in different countries. We have
Mm-hmm.
people on the West Coast. We have people on the South Side, which is where we are. We have
Mm-hmm.
people on up north. We got people in the DMV area. Um, we've had people in Africa. We've had people in Australia. We've had people in the United Kingdom. So yeah, it's been amazing that when people hear about our vision, the ministry that God's called us to, how
Mm-hmm.
they just kind of jump in and hands on and just say, "Hey, what can I help with?"
Wow. Track stars worldwide.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Hey,
yeah,
I'm gonna tell
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
No, no,
We
that
we
was
were
it.
up to, yeah, we were up to about 100. We were up to about 200 stations at one time.
Mm.
200 different outlets, and they were across the world. They were in Africa. We're still on a couple of stations now. Our main station is Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM, channel
Mm-hmm.
140, and then
Okay.
our other main station is God's House of Hip Hop, GH3 Radio, and
Okay.
then our YouTube channel is our biggest subscriber base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's nice. Hey, I got a question for you. What
Sure.
wife do? She's. I'm laughing because I thank God for her. Listen, we talking about how you talking about the different people you had come in and on
Yeah.
the whole team and stuff. And listen,
Absolutely.
what?
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
got your answer. Look. She about to start praising and run all over the house.
Yeah.
Hey,
Absolutely.
listen.
Absolutely.
I'm all
And
for it if you want. Listen, but no.
And to be honest, the majority of people who come to the team are people that want to start their own thing, or they have something they've already established.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they kind of just want to soak up what our conversations are about. You
Yeah.
know, how do we plan? How do we execute? What do
Mm-hmm.
we focus on? We have a business side of our call, and then we have about an hour and a half where we just do nothing but planning for the show. you know we have a process. We
Mm-hmm.
have elements that we
Mm-hmm.
stick to every week.
Yeah.
We have a tech sheet. We figured out the best system. Now we also have a lot of products that we sell too,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so um, we talk about those things, and we try to have other people help out in those areas as well. So it's a bunch of different things that we could have someone do.
Mm-hmm.
And for everything that we do, and all the team members we've never
Mm-hmm.
had anybody ask to be paid.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
everybody.
major.
And that's because they see us working 9 to 5s, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you're not trying to grease the wheels any kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
So however we can help, we definitely want
Mm-hmm.
to sow a seed of service. So
Yeah.
it's been a blessing.
Man, that is a blessing. Speaking of this, let me say, look, she is going off in the comments right now. So look at this. You
Yeah.
answer the question.
Yeah.
Hey, that's
Absolutely.
real. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, couple of things. Let me see. You see, yeah, merchandise. I've seen some of it. It's not just what I seen was. I'm sure it's more than that. I've seen the shirts. I've seen the
Hmm.
T-shirts. I also seen how you want to hook up somebody. One, it's on there. Like, what other
Yeah.
merchandise do y'all have other than just? I'm sure it's more than that. Obviously,
So it's not so much merchandise, it's the products that we have and the services that we offer.
okay,
Right.
okay,
So the
yeah.
number one thing that we're pushing right now is our YouTube Success Accelerator.
Mm-hmm.
We manage other YouTube channels, and we show other channels how to grow and explode their YouTube channels organically.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of algorithm that goes into YouTube. You can't just
Mm-hmm.
start a channel and expect it to grow just because you put up content or just because you tell people about it. It's a lot more involved than that. And the
Mm-hmm.
number one thing about YouTube is you want to get to the point where you're fully monetized, because YouTube YouTube is going to earn $28.4 billion this year alone,
Mm.
and they're going to distribute that to the channels, or they do distribute that, a share of that money, to the channels that are fully monetized, because they're
Okay.
running ads, and that 29 billion that they're getting is from ad revenue, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much.
Yeah.
So they're going to run ads through your channel, and they're going to pay you for the number of ads that they can put into a video, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, we had one video that went viral. We did a reaction video to Tiffany Montgomery calling Beyonce a witch.
Mm-hmm.
And that
I
video
remember that.
got over 1 million views, and it's grossed over $12,000 just by itself.
Mm.
And we've had several other videos go viral. And so it's a great source of revenue. It's number one source of revenue for social media. It's the largest, most active social media with the most users across the world. And so you want to focus on that. If you're ever starting a brand, or you have your own music channel, or any type of art that you're putting out, YouTube is the first space that we recommend that you start off understanding. The second thing is, we've been able to syndicate our show to over 200 outlets in the course of 7-8 years. And so
Mm-hmm.
we created a course called the Syndicator Solution, and that's where we show other radio shows how to syndicate their programming and get picked up in syndication deals. Syndication can also lead to revenue, because now you're doing 80-20 splits, or you're selling your show to different providers so that they can
Mm-hmm.
have content as well. So those work out pretty good. And then we also have Nectar Distribution. So we have our own distribution channel that competes with TuneCore, CD Baby, um, and DistroKid. And so our distribution platform, because we have been known as a Christian hip hop music site, we run ads, we
Mm-hmm.
sell advertising. I do an interview called the Independent Artist Spotlight that I interview independent artists, and they get promo within that package. So they'll get the interview, but they'll also get they'll get a written review of their single. They'll get blasted in our newsletter as a sponsor. They'll get they'll get Instagram posts, Facebook posts, Twitter posts. They'll get posted on our website. I'll mention it on the show. So our live show does about 5,000 views in the first 24 hours. So if I'm talking to an independent artist that's never really been heard of, me mentioning them on the show, they now have, impressions with people who now know who they are.
Yeah.
So that spotlight interview, I do about 2 or 3 of those a week consistently, and it's my only source of revenue. It's that and running the YouTube channels is how I make income right now. I'm a recruiter by trade, and so I've been
Mm-hmm.
in contract. I've been on contract for the last year and a half, but in the midst of this season, like with Christmas and the holidays, I'm not on contract right now, so I'm only
Mm-hmm.
bringing in revenue through the ad channels that we work with, and or the revenue channels that we work with, and then the different products that we sell. So we sell written reviews, album reviews, the video reviews. We will boost the song if someone. We have a platform where people can put up music for free,
Mm-hmm.
and if they want to get off onto our main channel or our main site,
Mm-hmm.
they can pay for an additional, boost. We call it the music booster, the video booster, the beat booster. Those are the different products that I was talking about. We also have a loyalty fan group, which is called the Trackstarz Universe. And so you can pay to join the Trackstarz Universe and be a part of our Patreon, get a free t-shirt. So all these different things we're managing. And so we have other team members that come in and help with those things. So I have people helping with posting, and we have people that help me post the independent artist spotlights once I do them. Um, they help me with the editing. They help me with the flyers and all that good stuff. So yeah, there's a lot to focus on. Um, and I'm hoping that with continued growth, it gives us more opportunity to get to know more people, because we've already had interviews with everyone in this space that has been a staple or a pioneer in Christian hip hop, from your Lecrae's to your Tadashi to your KB's to your Trip
Mm-hmm.
Lee's um, to your Jackie Hill Perry's, D1, all those folks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now we're saying, well, we don't want to forget about the guys that are in their basement or in their closets, putting together full songs, and they just want someone to listen. Well, we can be an outlet for that too. So what
Mm-hmm.
I do is, my strategy is funny. I go on social media and I voice message every artist that drops a new song, and I tell
Mm-hmm.
them who I am and what I do. And I say, hey, if you want to tap in with me for the Independent Artist Spotlight, hit me back and I'll send you the flyer. I don't want to be intrusive by just hitting you up with, something that you're going to have to spend money on if you're not interested in it. I just say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I do. This is who I am. I'm contacting you personally or direct from our channel. But if you're interested, hey, hit me back and I'll shoot you the flyer information. And usually I get more people interested than not.
Mm-hmm. Wow. See, look,
Yeah.
recruiter, that's a gift, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Literally, because you said, look, you said this is what you said. You said, when you're on contract, but now it's like the season's
Mhm.
like it's not there, and you're
Yeah.
still recruiting. It's just something that's in your blood,
Yeah,
man.
you're right. You're right. I never looked at it like that, because it's funny. I've been asking the Lord to send me back to work, and I have a wife and 4 kids, and I just want to be, the most responsible husband and parent that I can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I got a phone call one day from Canton Jones, and he was like, "What you up to?" And I was like, "Nothing, man. I'm just kind of hanging out. What's up with you?" And he was like, "Bro, I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk to you. I want to tell you something." He said, "Man, you got something really special. You guys, Trackstarz, got something really special."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, thank you. I was like, I want God to move on it. I want God to continue to bless it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to get it going to the point where it can manage itself, with the weekend routine, and I can go back to work. And he's like, nah, you don't need to go back to work. He said, man, listen. He said, man, let God use you, man. Let God continue to push you guys. You guys are doing great work. And I remember D1 came to Atlanta. He hit
Mm-hmm.
me up and he was like, hey, bro, I want to come to the studio and meet up with you. And I was like, I'm not at the studio. I was like, matter of fact, we won't be there till the weekend. He was like, why y'all not there in the week? I said, we got 9 to 5s. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
what? He was like, bro, y'all don't need no 9 to 5s. He was like, man, y'all doing the Lord's work. Go out there and live our faith.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness. So, that confirmation keeps coming back to me that we should be, doing this full time. And that's always been our hearts and desires. But, our first ministry is family. And
Mm-hmm.
that has to be taken care of first. So I understand, I can make sacrifices, and the Lord will provide. But at the same time, I want to be listening for what the Lord needs me to do for my first ministry.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
that's all. I throw my hands up, man. It's just listen to, like, I'm telling you. I don't know if you ever heard this,
Yeah.
man. You should write a book, man. You ever thought about writing a book if you haven't started?
Yeah, we have been trying to write a book, and we have a mentor, Kelly Cole,
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Cole's father,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he's basically saying, like, have somebody sit down, ask you a bunch of questions, record it, and then put it in a book. And I was like, you
Audio.
know what, that's a good idea. And for us, we've always had two things that we really want to do. We want to do a documentary, and we want
Mm-hmm.
to do a book. And I'm not sure how the Lord is going to do it, but I know it's something that we said if we ever got to the point where we were able to do this full time, those are things that we would put on our list of priorities that we need to knock out that we've been talking about for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I'll be praying for y'all, man.
Thank
That's all I'm
you.
gonna say.
Please
Real
do.
talk. That's all I'm gonna say, man. Cause look, that's
Please.
hey, the things have stuff be working out for y'all. Cause I've noticed it's just listening to you, even the
Yeah.
conversation. Like the first time we talked, I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, this dude, all right, man.
Thank you.
I always, I mean, I thought that when I watched the show, cause like I said, the one thing I noticed, like I said,
Mhm.
I'm gonna get back to it, is just
Yeah.
when y'all have a conversation, it's like, no, I'm just gonna say it this way.
Mhm.
It's like a team. Well, y'all are a team, honestly, but it's like watching one of your favorite teams that
Oh wow.
they're in sync. Like, all right,
Yeah.
I know I'm about to pass it to him. I'm gonna give him the layup because you might say something like, all right, well,
Yeah.
y'all bring up a topic or something, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, I'm gonna give it to DJ Jeremiah. He gonna say something, and swoop, there it is. Like he hit the nail, or you pass it to Sean, he'll pass it to
Yeah.
you. And it's just like, and I'm driving. I'm like, yo, I think this is why one of the reasons why I like this,
Yeah.
because one of the things I told
Yeah.
my wife, I said, the coolest thing I like is that it's y'all, but
Yeah.
one day I was like, how many? And it's funny you say you brought up about how many people on the team, because I was like, yo, this is major. They got 6 people in the studio. I have never in my life
Yeah.
seen like that group, and it's like it just comes together. You know what I'm saying? With everybody in
Yeah.
there.
So
So
I tell you what we have is we have an open door policy where you can book to be a guest host,
okay.
and we have up to 2 guest hosts a week. We can accommodate up to 2 guest hosts a week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we have alternate hosts on our team.
Mm-hmm.
You may have heard of Plain James.
Mm-hmm.
He's a
Yeah.
Christian rapper. He's been sitting in on the team for the last year and a half now. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's another young lady who comes in. We always say, well, we need to have a young lady in the room when we talk about conversations that involve women, because you
Mm-hmm.
can't have 4 dudes, 5 dudes sitting around a table talking about women issues and no women
Yeah.
are able to chime in. And my wife has a podcast with Jeremiah's wife, so
Mm-hmm.
they have their own voice on their own channel, so they
Okay.
don't need to sit in on Trackstarz. And my wife is at home with my kids. My wife
Mm-hmm.
does her podcast on Thursdays. We do ours on Saturdays. So she'll go to
Okay.
the studio on Thursday. I'll watch the
Mm-hmm.
kids and do homework and bath and bedtime. And then on Saturdays, while I'm at the studio, she's with the kids doing, lunch and vice versa. And
Mm-hmm.
we're not gone that long. We're 11 to 2, 11 to 3 sometimes. By the time I get home, it's like 3 o'clock, and I'm, doing family time. I'm big on family time. Like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
home and I don't have anything to do, hey, we need to all come together and watch a family movie. We need to all come together and do something. I love spending time with my wife, and she and I, we love the same like TV shows and movies and everything. And you like something, you get me involved, you tell me a little bit about it, I'm gonna jump right in.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's just, you know, the first ministry. And so we have an open door policy where if you email us in advance, you can talk to our booking manager, which is Sean's sister, Camille Grant, and she
Mm-hmm.
will put you down on the calendar to guest host. Now, we stopped doing interviews with artists, and that's why we do the independent artist spotlight now
Mm-hmm.
as an alternative, because artists can still come to the show and they'll have a couple of minutes to talk about what they're doing. We'll ask you like, what you got going on, you know, and they'll talk about a release they have or a project. But we also noticed too that on our channel, interviews weren't getting responses. So if you guest host with us, you happen to be on a video that goes viral, your social medias are attached to that video, your voice is in that video. You can
Mm-hmm.
take that video and put it up on your channel and put it up on your, you know, cut it up and put it in your social media as a hot take. And so we figured that that was the best way to continue to honor, you know, artists that want to be on our show, and
Mm-hmm.
also, you know, keeping a lid on our content in the way that our channel is forming.
Gotcha.
So it's like, you know, D1 hit me up and say, we're coming to the I'm in Atlanta, can I come to the show? Yeah, you can come to the show. We're gonna plan around D1. We're gonna say, oh, D1 was at the White House, D1 was
Mm-hmm.
doing this, D1 said that. So our conversation is gonna flow around hot takes with D1.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always going to be in the form of a reaction. So that's why I think we've been having a lot more success lately, because we started reacting to pop culture, and now we're a part of the Black Christian um, culture scene
Mm-hmm. Wow.
versus the Christian
So,
hip hop scene.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now let me backtrack, and I feel like now you can correct me, but wasn't
Mhm.
there a story? And this is the other thing that caught my eye. And you were saying, I think y'all was saying y'all was at one radio station. I think something happened where y'all had a strong belief about something, and you was like
Yeah.
on the you know I'm about so I guess
Yeah.
can you elaborate it? Because I was trying to
Yeah.
figure the word. I'm like I know exactly what I'm talking. Because
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell you before you say that,
Mhm.
I was like, yo, that is dope. You said you literally like, all right, I went on this side, the radio side, the world side, and they was just like, nah,
Yeah.
we're not feeling what you're saying. You went to the Christian side, and they was
Yeah.
like, so it's like you're right in the middle. So I guess, yeah, you can
Mhm.
explain that for people, man.
Yeah, yeah. So here in Atlanta, I have a mentor that he's been my mentor since I was 12 years old. His name is Ryan Cameron, and
Mm-hmm.
he's in the Georgia Broadcast Hall of Fame. He's the number one most celebrated, most recognized urban radio personality in the city of Atlanta. Been in radio for over 35 years now, and when I was with him and I was starting off in radio, I told him that everything I ever did was going to have to edify God. I said, if I do it, it's got to edify God.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something that we were just like, when we started our show, we were like, no compromise. Nobody's coming in here, and no one's ever going to move the needle on our faith. Our faith is always going to be centered on Jesus. Like if we can't say Jesus somewhere, if we can't tell the truth, we can't be in that space. And
Mm-hmm.
so we signed a major deal. They came after us. They saw line for line, and they saw the buzz we were getting. And we signed a major deal with a big gospel channel, big gospel distributor. And this distributor put us on 80 radio stations at one time. So when I told you that we had reached that 200 mark,
Mm-hmm.
we had
Yeah.
120 on our own. And then this deal we signed brought in 80 FM radio stations across the country.
Nice.
And we were just like having these meetings before we signed the contract. Like, hey, do you know who we are? We're the Trackstarz. We are Christian hip hop. We're not gospel. They're like, hey, we know, but you guys are the new voice of gospel. The gospel genre is getting older. They're starting to phase out. Younger
Mm-hmm.
people are starting to be added in. So we think you guys have what it takes to propel the genre to the next level. So we were like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, cool. So we sign on. We're excited. It takes about 6 weeks to get the contract done and, get all our press and everything out and our press release done. And we sign on. And the very first week, I get a phone call like, hey, y'all are playing some real edgy hip hop, man. I had a couple of ladies call the station and tell us that, you know, the music is just a little too raspy. And we were like, but we're coming on at like 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday. You
Mm-hmm.
know, why are they listening to gospel music and expecting, you know, it to be like their church gospel? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was saying in my head. I didn't say that to them.
Yeah.
But then they were like, hey, can you tone down the Lecrae's and play more of the Ty Tribbett's and the Mary Marys and the Kurt Franklin stuff? And we were like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really our thing, but we'll try. So my DJ, our DJ Jeremiah, he just went back and was like, all right, let me find some songs where Lecrae has done stuff with, you know, gospel artists. So he
Mm-hmm.
picked up Lecrae, Mary Mary stuff. He picked up, um, you know, Dietrich Haddon, you know, working with other Christian artists and stuff like that. So we tried to pick up the more like edgier gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And that was cool. They were all right. But then that same week that we tried the second week of the show, we discussed Beyonce's Lemonade album. And
Mm-hmm.
we talked about how Beyonce, at the end of the day, is not a good role model for Christian women, young ladies. And so they called me back that week and they said, hey man, we got some complaints that you were talking about the Beehive. It was like, yeah, like the Beyonce or whatever. And we were like,
Yeah.
yeah, we just basically said she's not a good look for a Christian young lady. You can't say that. And I said, I'm
Mm.
sorry. Say what?
Yeah.
And they were like,
Mm.
yeah, you can't talk about the Beyonce, man. The Beehive is listening. And we were like, but this is a gospel network. Like, aren't y'all more
Mm-hmm.
concerned about the truth of God and the gospel being preached than
Mm-hmm.
the listeners being upset? And they
Yeah.
were like, you can't talk about the Beehive, bro. And so we were just like, okay. And then they kind of sensed our frustration in it. And they were like, well, maybe this isn't a good fit. They were like, would you guys like to be let out your contract? And we were like, if it comes down to, you know, you telling us that we can't talk about what we want to talk about, if you want to censor us and this is supposed to be the gospel, then yeah, we'll go ahead and back out the contract. So we canceled the contract.
Mm.
And it was the biggest opportunity we ever had at that time. Is what we thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
And little did we know that God had other plans to, you know, allow us to continue to grow organically the way we wanted to, and He would
Mm-hmm.
bless that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So I'm gonna throw up a couple comments. So something you said, shout out to
Okay.
Audrey. Uh yeah, about
Oh wow.
what y'all believe in.
Thank you, Audrey.
And I think that is about the situation about her not being a good role model. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Which,
yeah,
of course
yeah,
we know it didn't happen because y'all still here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
You can't be
absolutely,
stopped, man. Especially,
absolutely.
when you got God with you. Say God be for you,
Yeah,
who can be against you, right?
sure, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
So
you just want to make sure that I have three daughters,
mm-hmm.
11, 8, and 6. And you want them to know the difference between right and wrong, even when it comes to music. You know, my daughter was listening to something one day, and me and my wife kind of walked in and we were like, listen, if you're gonna listen to something at night, listen to gospel music. And she was listening to some kid music, but it was like
Yeah.
kids bop or something. But when she
Mm-hmm.
started listening to gospel, she started going down this rabbit hole where she wanted to find more gospel. And
Mm.
then when we were in the car, she would say, hey, what's that song? I want to put that on my playlist. I want to play with that. I want to play that later on tonight. And I was like, that's what I want my kids to do. I want my kids to be able to hear music and from artists that believe in what they believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah,
Yeah.
that's real. Cause I'm I was gonna go there, but I said, you know what? I'm not gonna
Yeah.
go there because it's so much that we could say about that. And y'all talk about it a lot on the show, which again,
We
I
do.
appreciate that
Yeah.
because a lot of times, well, I'm gonna just say it this way, and let me see if I got it correct. Let me see. You
Hmm.
said culture meets faith, right? Did I get it right? Faith
Yep.
meets culture. Yeah. So this is what I this is what I said. I said before I even saw that, I was like, you know what? They literally take stuff from the world and put a Bible spin on it. That's how I see
Oh,
it.
yeah.
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 So
Yeah. We specifically look for that information. So
yeah.
every day, our team. So we have a chat. There's about 20.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 15 to 20 people in the chat,
Uh-huh.
and everybody is supposed to be looking through social media and finding hot takes on people that have said something in relation to faith.
Yeah.
And so, it comes up all the time on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And so we put them all in our chat, and somebody collects them all and puts them on one sheet. And then on our Wednesday night call, we go through every single video and we watch it and we say, how would we react to this? And would our audience react to, and would our audience like it as well? And so that's how we plan the show. And so we have another mentor that's really big in media space. His name is Chris Broussard, and he's the NBA analyst on ESPN.
Okay.
And we were sitting in the studio with him. He came to Atlanta one day and he called us. He said, "Hey man, I'm in Atlanta. I'm doing my show at Clear Channel." He's like, "Y'all want to come watch the show live?" And we were like, yeah, of course. I mean, you're Chris Broussard. Like you're one of the most famous voices in the NBA and sports. We definitely want to soak up whatever you have to show us. So we went out to the studio and we asked him, we said, "What's some advice that you give to us?" And he said, "You always got to play the hits." Because that night they were discussing Tom Brady. And it was something about Tom Brady. It just happened. And we were like, "How did you go from basketball to Tom Brady? What was your angle in doing that? Because don't you lose audience?" He said, "No, you always play to the hits." He said, "You write down 10 of the top figures in your industry that people are going to chime in on, and you play to those hits." So we made a list of the top 10 people that discuss things in our space that our audience is going to enjoy. And I can just give you 5 of those offhand. And those 5 are Lecrae, Jackie Hill Perry, B. Simone, Tim Ross, and I'll give you a 5th one, Jamal Bryant. Jamal Bryant always says something crazy. He goes against the faith, and we're like, "Oh my God!" Like, oh, you got it. And people love hearing our commentary on Jamal Bryant.
Yeah,
and it's basically just because we're like, "Can we get this right? Can we please get this right?" And after 18 years, you said something about us gelling together. After 18 years, you kind of just know what the other person's thinking. So you give space for that. There's some topics that I don't want to say too much on because my opinion is a little bit more radical in the faith than somebody else. And so I don't want this to turn into a rant show. So like we had a conversation the other day. I was upset about it. And I said, "I'm upset." And I'll just leave it at that. We had a conversation where there was a white pastor who was saying, "I want to rebuke the black church."
Yeah, I remember.
And he was talking about a specific pastor, but he included the entire church. So I'm like, you can't do that. And then he said something about slavery. And I was like, "Bro, you don't even touch that." So when they cut the camera to me and they were like, "Ryan, what are your thoughts?" And I was like, "You know what? You can miss me with all that. I'm mad." And then I just pushed back from the microphone. Because if I said what I wanted to say, it was gonna be like it would have alienated or isolated my brothers and sisters of another color. And I had to stop and think about that. Say, you know what? The church I attend, my pastor's white. The church I'm a member of, my pastor's black. So I can see it from both sides, and I can see the argument being what you're saying is not right about the white church, and what you're saying is not right about the black church. And I was just like, I'm mad at the conversation. I don't like what he said. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And then I let everybody else give their more theological, philosophical approach to the conversation, because what I wanted to say wasn't gonna be nice at all.
Yeah.
And I always want you to know that I'm trying my best to be Christ-like. I try to reflect the image of Jesus every breath of my body. And when I don't get it right, I'm like, okay, I know when I need to fall back. The Lord's got to work on me on this situation.
Yeah. I understand, man. Hey,
and my kids listen. Solid. My kids listen every week. So as they're listening, my wife is listening. I'm like, what don't I want them to know that Daddy? What do I want them to see Daddy being like on a camera? And I'm glad they got all this content. We have over 2,000 videos we've published on YouTube. So long after I'm gone, my kids will be able to go back and see all the crazy, hilarious things I've said about the faith, and
Yeah.
people's approach to it.
Oh yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Go to the comments. Let me see. What were you talking about? Oh yeah, you was talking about pretty much what y'all believed in. Let's
Hmm.
see. There's one. Yep. Let's see. The honor with God, honor with blessing. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think y'all were talking about because you
Yes.
shared so much information. But yo, that is very true. 'Cause I'm trying to remember what it. Oh, you was talking about like what y'all believe in and
Hmm.
standing up for. I think it's what it was.
Yeah.
And of course, the wife, step in the man established by the Lord when He delights in
Hmm.
His way.
Yes.
Yep. Let's see. A measured response is important, even when speaking the truth. There you go.
Amen. Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
you measure that response. He was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I ain't trying to offend. We try not to easily
Yeah.
offend. Try to offend. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
pull back. So
Because the Lord will quicken my spirit easily. And
yes.
I will know exactly when I'm not supposed to say something.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope more people. I feel a certain way about social media.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, and this is a hot take probably. I don't think social media should be for everyone. There's some things that are
Facts.
abused on social media, and when I say that, I mean believers, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a
Yeah.
non-believer and you do what you do on social media, you want to make light of life and you want to make jokes about XYZ, okay. But believers, they have a responsibility on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to use our platforms responsibly. And I see a lot of Christians that just want views, they just want hot takes, um they just want to be considered. They want to be a voice of some sort. They want to be acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't go for that. I really don't. Somebody called out Trackstarz and was like, they called out Trackstarz and a couple of other folks, and I said he would love nothing more for me to respond to him with whatever I think about what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to do it. And we're not going to do it. And it's
Yeah.
crazy because over the years, we've never had anybody have a problem with us. We've had 18 years of no arguments, no conflicts, and no enemies
Wow.
because we don't allow it. We will apologize behind closed doors quicker
Mm-hmm.
than anybody hopefully. We will admit we're wrong behind closed doors. Now, I say that because we don't even want to do that publicly because we don't want to come off as inauthentic if that's what somebody believes. Like you
Mm-hmm.
apologize because you got all these followers and they want you want them to see you in a good light. No, no, no.
Yeah.
We'll DM you and say, "Hey, we were wrong or we made a mistake." But
Mm-hmm.
God willing, we haven't had to do that but one time. And that was when somebody thought we were copying their brand. And we just
Mm-hmm.
happened to select the same exact colors that they selected. And they were just like, man, Trackstarz is copying me and they're trying to be like me. And we were like, oh no, we honestly we use the same app and they only have a certain number of templates you can choose from. We just
Mm-hmm.
happened to pull our template the same way you pulled yours, and it happened to
Right.
be the same colors. It wasn't intentional, you know. And
Yeah.
so we measure, and this is the thing about Sean that I love. Sean has made me such a better follower and such a better believer in the patience of Christ. Um, because in the early days and even to today, he will post negative comments that are said about us, and he
Mm-hmm.
will repost them on Twitter, and he'll respond in the chats and say something in love, and I'll be like, why didn't you just let them have it?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, nah, man, we're gonna show love in every area, every way, every time we can. And I'll see a comment that was negative, and I'll see where
Mm-hmm.
he reposted it or he liked it, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But it's made me better because
Mm-hmm.
now I think about those things. I had somebody say something rude to me on social media while I was live and in the comments, and I was like, you know what? I'm not even responding to that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, but I also think social media, like I don't put a lot of my family stuff up on social media. I let my wife do that. She can
Mm-hmm.
tag me, but my ministry is about preaching the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want you to come to my channel or my page and get confused about what I know my calling and purpose is. And our sole mission is to change the landscape of music that our children hear. And
Mm-hmm.
so every time I make a post, I don't want you influenced by my own opinion of something. I want you to be influenced by what my heart is saying about the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So in social media, I have a lot of friends where when I see their social medias, I'm just like, oh, why did they post that? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. But I understand everybody needs their time to grow. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
needs their own time to understand and be enlightened or let the Lord convict them of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's our goal is not to go viral. It's not, and especially not to go viral over something that does not represent or edify God.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And segue to that.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you was talking about the melody and why you that
Mm.
look speaks for itself. Like, and we can say it. I can sit. Y'all are humble. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Like the way y'all do it, and I'm not doing it just gas over everything, but it's the truth. Like I listen, y'all, and you can ask the wife. I actually put her on to it. She was like, what? One day, and I told her, I said, look, just listen to it. She was like, oh, okay. You know, she really
Yeah.
took it in. But what I sense is, like I said, I watch y'all, and the cool thing is, it's just like the way, and you actually answered one of the questions pertaining to, like, how y'all get the topics and stuff like that, because
Mm-hmm.
y'all know how to pick them. I did for
Thank you.
real, because I
Yeah.
be like, they just, and then the backdrop in the
Mm-hmm.
channel, I'm just like, man, look, they got the
Yeah.
right people, and man,
Yeah.
if you want to elaborate on more, like, I think you asked, I mean, answer them a second. So, like, how do y'all know what to talk about and what
Mm-hmm.
not to talk about? Because I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's some things I'll be like, man, y'all listen,
Mm-hmm.
y'all will speak it, like y'all talk about it, and
Yeah.
like, man, y'all ain't no limit, but y'all know there's a limit, but no limit. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all
Yeah.
y'all will reach on different stuff, but y'all won't push it too far where y'all
Mm-hmm.
become viral in a negative way, in a really bad
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. So when we pick a topic, we have a filters list, or I won't say filter. We have a checklist. It has to meet
Mm-hmm.
certain checklists.
Mm-hmm.
It has to have a certain checkbox. So it has to be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be relevant. It has to be current, right? Most times it's current, or it
Mm-hmm.
has to be something that we missed, but we know that this is something that Christians need to know the truth on.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times we'll pick topics where people will discuss their faith in a positive way or a negative way, and we'll make a reaction to that. And we know that people have been coming to our channel and they're used to getting they're used to hearing about certain people. People pick their favorites, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those
Yeah.
five that I listed off, those are most people's favorites. They want to hear
Mm-hmm.
from Jackie Hill Perry. They want to hear from Lecrae. They want to hear from Tim Ross. They want to hear from Philip Mitchell. They want to hear from Jamal Bryant. They want to hear what these people are saying and how they're saying it. And
Mm-hmm.
so um, we make sure that the person is well known, right? Because if you bring somebody up that no one knows, people are title based. So when they see the
Mm-hmm.
title, they're automatically saying, "Is this something that I'm going to care about?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
We've had shows where we put out titles and they flopped, and we're like, "Whoa!" I mean, it hasn't happened recently. This is back when
Yeah.
we were just in our discovery phase,
Mm-hmm.
and we would say, "Oh, okay, people don't care about that person." you know
Mm.
and then we learned from our mentor that you can't make content that you want. You have to make content that people want. And
Mm.
that's the biggest mistake about YouTubers, influencers. A lot of people, uh radio shows, podcasts, they talk about what they want to talk about, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't talk about what their audience wants to hear. So we're all married men, most of us,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't do a lot of relationship topics, but our audience is a lot of single people that want to hear about relationships. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll every now and then find a good topic. Megan Kelly and Lecrae talked about abstinence in the church. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that was something that our audience really wanted to hear about. They like to hear the different approaches to abstinence, right? They like to hear whether or not a person truly believes in it, the reasons why they do it, and if they're really serving Christ or they're serving their own personal agenda, you know. So
Mm,
we try to make sure that if we pick a topic, it answers, is this person talking about Jesus, and how are we going to point them? How are we going to, if they say it right or they say it wrong, how do we correct it so that the audience knows the right answer,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
um Plain James is a pastor. So when you hear him talk, he's
Mm-hmm.
very methodical about how he gives a response. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
he will give you several references from the Bible that
Mm-hmm.
relate to that topic.
Yep.
He's not as opinionated as some of us are, but he's more like, let me give you reference, let me give you scripture. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I have stories that I like to tell about, where I see people in the Bible relating to the person's personal struggle, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's where I like to give my feedback. But I'm also a person that thinks really practical. My wife and I, we had some really good conversation earlier today. We were just in the kitchen just talking, and I was saying, well, I think this and I think that, and she's like, well, I think this and I think that, and we were just saying, this is a direction we want to go in when we lead our family. What are
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts about this? If I wanted to do this, what would you think about that? My wife is very involved, and I'm so glad she's a podcaster, because now she knows half the battle.
Mm-hmm.
She's 9 years behind us, or when I say like 9 years behind, she's 5 years in, I think. 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
but 9 seasons, because she does 2 seasons a year.
Okay.
But I'm glad that she's in this space now, setting up interviews, doing social media content, having the conversations, because I do some production and editing on her show,
Mm-hmm.
and I listen back to what she says, because when her show comes on live on Saturdays, I'm in the car going to the studio. And most times I'm preparing for the show, so I'm listening back to content. Like, I'll watch a clip that we're going to
Mm-hmm.
discuss 3 or 4 different times just to make sure I heard it and understand what I want to say about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
So
makes sense.
that's the main thing. The main thing is, having an outlet to be able to voice what God is telling us in our hearts and in our homes,
Mm-hmm.
and how we bring that to the stage.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
y'all do that very well. Let me
Thank
see.
you.
Comments. Hey, bro, what's up? I guess speaking to both of us.
Hmm.
Okay. What's up? What's up? So, man, mm, so much. I'm trying to think what
Yeah.
else, cause you don't look, you done threw a lot of information to me. Look, you made it. That's a blessing. I'm sitting there like, I ain't gonna lie to you. I was
Yeah.
like, man, what am I gonna ask? I know I'm gonna ask him, but hey,
Yeah.
man, I need some to do some more research. You been just like flowing with it. So I mean, I appreciate it, man. The information
Thank you.
you just throwing, I'm pretty sure everybody has gotten something from it. I know I got a whole lot from it. So man,
Amen.
I
Amen. Thank
do
you.
appreciate it. Yeah,
Thank
definitely,
you for
man.
having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. And I'm gonna give a few minutes, see if anybody want to say something. So,
Hmm.
there's a couple of things I want to bring up. So,
Sure.
because I thought it was actually cool. So we talked about it earlier. So, Flavor Fest
Yeah.
happened beginning of November.
Hmm.
And you talked about the YouTube success. I think y'all also did it there as well. The
Yeah.
Flavor
We t-
Fest.
we we did a track for business. Uh-huh.
Okay. So for those, could you explain a little bit more? Because I know y'all had like the
Hmm.
beat battles, which y'all talked about a lot, and I seen like a snippet of it.
Hmm.
And then I know y'all talked about YouTube success. That's when I first was
Yeah.
introduced to it, and I'm like,
Oh,
man, that's
wow.
really cool. No, I kid you not. And I was like, wow, because I haven't really heard anybody else talk about it. I mean, not saying they don't talk about it, I just
Hmm.
haven't caught it at the right time. So,
Hmm.
yeah. So would
Okay.
you care to explain? Yeah.
Yeah. For Flavor Fest, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Flavor Fest is the largest Christian festival in the Southeast. Next year is going to be its 25th year.
Oh,
So
nice.
25th anniversary. And Trackstarz has been involved in Flavor Fest since 2013 when we first went. And Flavor Fest was a game changer for us, because in 2013 when we first went, nobody knew who we were. We
Mm,
were walking around with another person who had a camera, and he just happened to say, like, hey, I'm just here to get B-roll, but I'd love to get B-roll of you guys talking to some artists. So
mm-hmm.
he's like, after I get my B-roll and I get my conversation with the artist, y'all can come in too. So we were like, whoa. So they took us backstage, and we got a chance to talk with Tadashi and Cannon and Thizzle and so
Mm-hmm.
many artists. And when we came back to Atlanta, we published those videos, and people started recognizing us as a interview platform. And so the following year, we went to Flavor Fest. We had a table, and we were able to do B-roll in the lobby the same way this guy did. And that was a big Flavor Fest. And so we got to talk to artists like Butter P, Boy Wonder, Ambassador, The Truth. Like, we got to talk to some other artists that time. And that's when everybody was like, oh, Trackstarz, I know y'all. And we were like, you okay? You know, Bizzle was talking to us and stuff like that. And then it became the following Flavor Fest that we were asked to do a green room. And so for the last 5 years, we've had a green room and we've hosted the beat battle. So we find battlers and we put them on stage, and we let producers go back and forth on the beats, and then we crown a winner at the end of the day, at the end of the show. And so the beat battle has been something that's been fun to curate. You know, for the last 5 years, we've been trying to, you know, establish those relationships and get those things going. And then in the last 3 years, we've been asked to teach classes. So we've been teaching media courses on how to, you know, how to do this and how to do that. So one year we taught a course on our nectar distribution, how to get how to do distribution, and how to, you know, do licensing and publishing and all that good stuff. And then this year we told them, we were like, hey, we've got a product, we've got a service to show people how to grow their YouTube channels. And so we did a full presentation on the YouTube Success Accelerator service that we offer. And what we do is we actually do free channel audits for your YouTube. And we go through your channel and we determine whether or not, you know, we need to do a Zoom call with you to explain it to you, or can we send you the information back in the email. And so in that time frame, we also have come up with a free guide that tells you everything we know. But I guarantee what's happening is most people who read that guide are like, I don't want to do all this work, or I don't want to understand this for myself. How much for you to do it for me?
Yeah.
And so that's what's been really helping out, is that people are coming to us and allowing us to manage their channels. And it's a great source of revenue for us, because it's a pretty expensive ask to manage your YouTube channel and make sure your channel is growing and get you to the monetization stage, and help you grow in your subscribers and help you grow in your listeners. Our YouTube channel at the beginning of January was at 41,000 subscribers. This week we're at 79,300 subscribers. So we've almost doubled. We're going to double by the end of the year, but it's because we learned how to grow our channel. We grow by 1,000 subscribers a week, and we have over 500,000 views a month throughout all our videos. But some of our videos that go viral, we had a video that we put out maybe 2 weeks ago. It's already at 200,000 views. So by the end of this month, we'll probably have done 1 million views this month. But it's all about that algorithm. If you don't know that algorithm, you're kind of just throwing stuff up against a wall, hoping it sticks. Yeah. And so that's where we come in. We studied the algorithm, and we have learned it, and we've proved it time and time again with other channels, not just our own. So that's the YouTube Success Accelerator. And we're getting ready to put that into a course. We got to take all the information we have and couple it together and put it in a course. But that's our goal, is to put it in the course.
Okay. Man, wow. I hope y'all listening. Listen, he just literally blessed y'all. He trying to help y'all out. Man, look, that's all I'm going to say. Let me go through the comments real quick.
Okay.
What's going on, sir? He said, great show, Brother Ty. Blessings.
Spirit and truth.
Shout out to you. Yeah. Thank you. That's Spirit and truth. Audrey said, really enjoyed the interview. Thank you both. We appreciate
Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So blessings, and I think that's it. And he's kind of speaking the comment, but man, look, that is, wow. I'm speechless, man.
Thank you.
I've done interviews and I've been stopped, but I'm just like, this guy literally just gave a lot of nuggets, like nuggets that people need to hear from like the beginning until now, and I'm just like, I'm gonna have to go
Yeah.
back and listen to this.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Man, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. So let me see, one last question. Let me ask you before we get to that one. We still
Mhm.
got some time. Man, we've been at hour 14. You good, man? How you feeling?
Uh, I know my wife has got dinner cooking, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, we about
I'm
to.
not sure. I
Okay, but I will
think my
ask this.
phone died. She could have texted me to tell me
Okay.
dinner was ready, and I wouldn't have missed. I would have missed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh no, yeah, we want to make sure you get. Hey, man, you gotta get that food,
Yeah.
man. So, but we do appreciate you, man.
Mhm.
Any LC, any advice? I mean, you gave a lot, but
Mhm.
anybody that wants to really kind of go down the same path y'all like with the podcasting and
Mhm.
music or just anything in the arts, we'll just take it that way. So, is there any advice you would like to give?
Man, the first advice is prayer.
Yeah.
Make sure you pray about the direction God has you going in. Um, and be careful. Be
Mm-hmm.
careful to not, take any steps that you want to take that the Holy Spirit hasn't told you to take, because you can get into something that, could be costly, with time, energy, family, and money. And those things could really hurt. Like if your first ministry isn't to your family, then you starting another ministry on the side is
Mm-hmm.
already out of God's order, because now you're starting something up where you haven't even lined up what you're supposed to be doing first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, my first ministry is my family.
Yeah.
I do most of my stuff when they're in the bed asleep, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or I do it in the mornings while they're away from school. But I'm always present for dinner and bath and bedtime, and we read the Bible to our children every night, or we let our
Mm-hmm.
children read the Bible to us. And my wife and I, we get up every morning at 5 and we pray and we do praise and worship and we do devotion.
Mm-hmm.
And so no one in my family would say I've neglected them, you know. Um, so you want to make sure that if you're going to start anything, God has told you that He needs you to do this.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, um, get with a good team. Pray and fast over what it is God wants you to create in this space, because you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to just start throwing things out there that you like. Again, I said you got to make content for what an audience is going to like, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
serving in this moment. You're serving them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the number one thing. Two, you've got to have people who are on your team. You got to have a team of people that are opposites. Me and Sean are complete opposites. You see this wall behind me?
Mm-hmm.
He told me I'm gonna decorate the studio and I'm gonna come up with an idea and put pictures on the wall. And I was like, I don't know what that's gonna look like, because I don't have that. I don't have that imagination to go
Yeah.
beyond. But when I walked in the studio, I was like, bro, where did you get this from?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? You know. But then he's also an introverted person, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm the most communicative person in Trackstarz. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking to everybody. I'm sending emails to everybody. I'm trying to establish relationships with everybody. I'm trying to get to know
Mm-hmm.
everybody. You see
Yeah.
Sean, and I'm just like, hey, that's Sean over there.
Yeah.
He'll give you a head nod, a wave, or a salute.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's what we need. We need somebody who's vocal, and then you need somebody who's really sharp in business. Sean is sharp in business. He
Mm-hmm.
keeps everything going. He keeps the lights on. He keeps he keeps us organized. I draw off of him in so many areas of my life, professionally and personally. And I'm just like, I'm glad God was able to partner me with someone who could um, have such strong attributes in the areas where I need growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a blessing to have the right people in place when you start something. Not everybody wants to be in front of the camera, and that's another thing. Determine whether or not you want to be in the camera. I have decided that I don't want to be in the camera much longer. I would
Yeah.
rather see people coming into this space and us executive directing a show and
Mm-hmm.
managing a platform and a business that does more than just podcasting, radio, and television. We also want to create movies. So the next phase of my life, I'm excited about the movie aspect. Man, seeing
Mm-hmm.
track stars on a movie title and what we've been able to put out in the space of good quality Christian content, and having
Mm-hmm.
something that can live on for generations and generations, and can really tell the message and story of Christ. So people who have sharp areas of understanding, you want to bring them into the fold to give you
Mm-hmm.
advice and to give you help. Like people who all see the same thing, people who all see in gray, things aren't going to change. I was consulting a podcast and a radio show, and I was just like, all these hosts see the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's not paying attention to quality, and somebody's not paying attention to delivery, and somebody's not paying attention to execution, where there needs to be someone who looks at all those different things, right? And
Yeah.
not everybody has to play the same role. So
Wow.
that's really important. Really important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, look, that was some good advice, man. We
Yeah.
appreciate you. Before we go, you think it I guess share your information. I mean, I know Trackstarz, but
Mhm.
how people can get in touch with you or
Oh
get a
yeah,
piece of yeah.
absolutely. It's funny, man. I have no. It's funny. I talk about my family being my first ministry,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe in no boundaries,
Yeah.
right? So I'm an open book to my cell phone number being out there, my email. I'm always looking at it because it's business, it's ministry. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
always looking at it. But if I'm doing something with the family, I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
We normally don't do any Trackstarz business transactions or anything like that on Sunday. Sunday is family day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I told my wife, I said, hey, give me a Sunday afternoon or evening to do an interview since
Mm-hmm.
everybody's out of school and you're off work all week long.
Yeah.
So tonight, we're gonna go home. We're gonna drop off the call and go do
Mm-hmm.
family dinner, and then go watch a Christmas movie and set up in the basement with the kids.
Yeah.
Um, and we're just gonna like enjoy each other, and then tomorrow morning is back to the grind.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Well, y'all.
but yeah, trackstars with a z.com is our website.
Mm-hmm.
At Trackstars on Instagram, at Trackstars on Twitter, at Trackstars on Facebook. My personal is Ryan Righteous, at Ryan Righteous on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And then YouTube is at Trackstars. YouTube.com/Trackstar. So would love for you to like, subscribe, and join the conversation, join the channel. And if you're ever in Atlanta, hit us up. Come on the show and be a guest host.
Definitely. We appreciate you. And before
Mm-hmm.
you go, listen,
Yeah.
make sure you get that. We both agree. Go ahead and get that meal,
A
man.
meal. Yeah. Thank you, Miss
And
Toya. I will tell my wife.
so,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, definitely, man. But we appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in again. Like, comment, subscribe, TC Lounge, and make sure y'all go to Trackstarz. It's with a Z, not an S. Y'all see it right there on the screen.
Yeah.
Look, you will not be disappointed. I'm not being biased. I'm just telling the truth. Y'all should go see it for yourself. That's it, man. God bless you, man. I
Thank you.
appreciate you, man.
Oh, man. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll see y'all. Peace.
Okay.